Get ready because I am going all out unplugged in this video. We recently closed a William Ryan home sale and I am giving you the full scoop on how it went down. I'm going to give you plenty of data, like I always do, but there's also going to be plenty of unfiltered truth, and it is not going to be pretty. Now, the experience we had with William Ryan Homes, it was a pretty bad experience, but it was one sale within one community. So I do want to keep that in perspective and balance it out by giving you plenty of objective data as well. And this is something I want you to think about. When it comes to evaluating home builders, you're going to have some criteria that will be true across the entire company, but then you'll have some things that are very micro-local. The company-wide level are going to be things like their contracts and the quality of their warranties after closing. How about customer satisfaction that isn't isolated by location? You know, such as what you would see with like the Better Business Bureau, right? That sort of thing. At the micro-local level, you're going to see the effects of local management. How well are these subcontractors managed? Is the project manager held accountable? How well does the sale office communicate? This is also where you're going to see craftsmanship. Like you could have a company that provides high quality materials, but a local community that installs them poorly. So honestly, it's about middle management's ability to ensure quality control across multiple locations. When I was deciding whether or not to make a video about William Ryan Homes, I realized the issues we encountered were ones you would see like at the micro-local level. So I decided, you know what? I'm going to be completely transparent about our experience, but also evaluate all the criteria that go into deciding on a builder. For our company-wide criteria, the William Ryan Homes contract is not the worst we've seen. If you can't close on time, your late penalties will run you interest on the unpaid balance of the purchase price at the rate of 1% per month. So if we put that into dollars and cents, basically if your unpaid balance is $400,000, it's going to set you back $4,000 a month, or about $133 per day for not being able to close on time. If your home doesn't appraise for the purchase price, you as the buyer will make up the difference. The contract states, purchaser understands that their financing may require an appraisal as part of their loan underwriting process. This agreement is not contingent on the property appraising for the contracted purchase price. Property tax proration is also a big deal, or rather whether the seller will consider a reproration after closing. In the case of William Ryan Homes, the answer is no. Tax proration is final at closing. And it's a pretty big deal because a lot of times buyers really get the short end of the stick when it comes to property taxes at closing with new construction. The builder ends up paying way less than they should, and then the buyer ends up having to pay way more than they should. There are several builders who will agree to having the taxes reprorated after closing, but William Ryan isn't one of them. An interesting clause you see in their contracts is a social media gag order. Those aren't super common in our sales contracts, right? It's found in the section called Right to Remedy. The contract reads, purchaser shall not make or publish any false statements to any third party regarding the seller, its business, and or the construction of the home, either verbally or in writing, which shall specifically include, but not limited to, any written statements made through the use of social media without seller's right to remedy. Okay, so before you make any kind of heated comments on Facebook, you have to keep this clause in mind. So we have stiff late fee penalties, no appraisal protection, no tax reproration, and a social media gag order. Now, none of these are a huge surprise. I mean, yeah, they are definitely slanted in favor of the builder, but these are the kind of elements we see so often in new construction contracts that are written by attorneys to benefit the builder. Now, I do want to say one thing about the William Ryan Homes contract, and it's that they have a reference error in their contracts. They reference a paragraph as a section on default that has nothing to do with default. So having an error like that is a little sloppy and a little surprising. With our own personal experience, one part of the contract that became a real problem was them installing products that our buyer didn't consider to be of equal quality. Like many times, these builder contracts will have a clause saying if a certain product is unavailable, they retain the right to substitute it with a product of equal quality. Now, the big issue that developed for our buyer was whether or not the substitutions were equivalent. So you can start to see how a contract at a company-wide level becomes interspersed with craftsmanship at a local level, and we started having problems. For example, the contract stated that our buyer would get a specific class of roof shingle. Well, that was a good thing because that roof shingle would result in an insurance discount. The problem ended up that the roofers didn't install that class of roof shingle, so our buyer couldn't get the insurance discount. There were several other issues like that with the kitchen sink and appliances, and it became just a real battle getting William Ryan to put in the level of quality fixtures they had committed to. Like with the appliances. All right, they had specifically offered an upgraded gourmet appliance package as an incentive, but then they installed, just ordinary appliances. At your company-wide level, you have your contracts, and we've talked about those. But you also have things like their warranties and Better Business Bureau ratings. Their warranty offers the standard 1-10 coverage, 1 year for workmanship, 2 years for systems like plumbing and electrical, and then 10 years for structural components. This is really middle of the road coverage. All right, you have some builders who offer a 2-10, and then some only offer a 1-10, skipping the 2-year coverage altogether. So this is a decent but relatively ordinary warranty. As to complaints on the Better Business Bureau, there just aren't any. I couldn't find any complaints, and it wasn't rated by the BBB either. So I popped over to Yelp, and I couldn't find anything there either. So essentially with William Ryan Homes, you have a builder who doesn't have a super strong presence, and there isn't much out there to let you know if customers are satisfied with how the warranty is serviced after closing. So that kind of gives you a picture at the company-wide level. So let's go ahead and talk about the micro-local level where things got so messy for our buyer. Earlier, I mentioned substitution being a problem, where William Ryan Homes was substituting products that we and our buyer did not consider to be equivalent. Well, substitution was definitely not our only problem. Overall, the quality and craftsmanship just didn't seem to be there. Now, the cool thing about having a new build, okay, which is what our buyer did with William Ryan, is you can have multiple inspections along the way. You can have a pre-pour inspection, meaning before they pour the foundation. You can also have a pre-drywall inspection, so you can see everything that will be inside your walls. Then of course you can have your complete inspection, which is the one everyone is most familiar with. And many buyers go on to have a 4th inspection right before their warranty expires. Well, problems began to show up with the very first inspection. The pocket formers weren't flush to the form boards. The cable elevators were damaged or missing. The backfill was not done properly, and there was trash where they were supposed to be pouring the concrete. Now, I want to believe for sure that they'd be removing the trash, but still, it's just really sloppy. As construction continued, the problems were really just impossible to ignore. Cabinets were hung upside down, shelves were out of alignment, there was water damage on the ceiling, the tile work in the shower surround had misaligned pieces that looked like someone had just rushed through it. There was granular loss on roof shingles that were brand new. Now, at a company-wide level, maybe William Ryan chooses products that are of a good quality, but at a local level, the installation of those products was terrible. Now, what made this so much worse was that we couldn't get the project manager to communicate with us. He wouldn't accept responsibility for the subcontractors under him. I mean, he would basically just shrug his shoulders when you told him about the poor quality work. We ultimately had to go over his head to his manager, and then over that manager's head to the area manager in order to get the repair problems corrected. We had to delay closing because our buyer was not going to close until the work was done right. And I should add, okay, the sales consultant in this transaction, she really was great. She gave us pictures, all during the construction phase. But then at the end, when we were having so many problems, she really didn't take any ownership of helping us get them resolved. So I'm over here thinking, man, what kind of company is this? And yet on Google, they actually have decent reviews. Their average rating comes out to just under 4.8, which is really a pretty convincing rating. William Ryan Homes at Creekside has 4.8 stars. West Crossing has 4.8 stars. The Preserve at Pecan Creek has 4.8 stars. Wildflower Ranch, 5.0 stars. Devonshire, okay, and this is where our disaster was taking place, it had 5.0 stars. Now, not many reviews, mind you, but still a 5.0. I will say this though, when I read the reviews, there were only 2, and both reviews gave a 5.0 because it was a beautiful area with nice amenities. So no one left any reviews about the quality of the homes or the professionalism of the staff. Now, I've watched videos where the YouTuber will say they don't put any stock into Google reviews. Well, I personally put a lot of stock into them because it's the one place where you see both the good and the bad. Like on the Better Business Bureau, for example, it's only where you put complaints. People seem to only post on platforms like Yelp when they're angry, but on Google reviews, you genuinely get a mix of both good and bad experiences. But here's the key though, all right? You need to read the reviews and figure out what they're rating. In the community where we had such a bad experience, the rating was a 5.0, but it was based on the amenities. What you want to see are ratings based specifically on the quality, craftsmanship, and buyer's experience with the on-site staff and managers. Oftentimes on Google reviews, you'll see the same person mentioned over and over again. So really pay attention to that. I want to give you an example of this at Wildflower Ranch in Fort Worth. They have 5 total reviews, all of which have a 5-star rating. When you look at the reviews, you see the same person mentioned in every single review as being excellent to work with. Now, I don't know about you, but if I'm going to consider Wildflower Ranch, I'm gonna find out if Ethan Frelly is still there. Because if so, I know this guy already has a reputation for getting the job done right. You also see this at Creekside in Royse City. The first few reviews reference the same person as excellent to work with. Now, you also want to reference how recent the review is. If there are numerous reviews that are all recent and all reference the same person, all right, that is an excellent scenario to find. Now, I want to tell you one thing I really like about William Ryan Homes, and that's the level of customization you can have at a low price point. You can buy a new build with a lot of options for customization and design center features in the $400,000 range and less with William Ryan Homes. A lot of home builders who offer new builds in that price range are going to offer more of a package deal where it's still a new build, but you have a countertop and cabinet package you can pick from rather than each item individually. Well, William Ryan really seems to have a lot of customization options within the new build sphere, and I like that. They have an online design studio with everything from countertops to flooring to plumbing. Then within each option, you have a lot more choices along with information to guide you in making those choices. They're also on the affordable side. When I mentioned Creekside and Royse City, where it mentions the same person several times describing a glowing experience, homes there start as low as $288. You might expect these homes to be super cheap with siding instead of brick, but they're actually not. You can get the Amarillo, the Rockport, or the Waco beginning under $300,000. They all have brick, and they don't have the cookie cutter like you would see so often, like with builders like D.R. Horton. There is some genuine architectural diversity even at this low price point. Earlier, I mentioned Wildflower Ranch. It has a perfect 5.0 review where everyone is raving about one sales consultant. Well, what I like about what they offer there is they have a lot of the sleek white on black look. And a lot of times you have to pay for that look, and it is very popular right now, but you can get it at Wildflower Ranch. I also, in general, I just really like the architectural diversity. All right, these homes are comparable to the D.R. Horton price level, but you have 2 and 3 car garage options, J-swing garages, unique asymmetrical designs. I mean, they even dabble with like a farmhouse look. So I feel like in general, they offer a lot more home for the money than you can get with some of those other comparable builders. I hope you can see I've really tried to give William Ryan Homes a fair shake here. If you like their designs like I do, I definitely recommend a ton of research on the individual community because that's where they seem to struggle with consistency. Some of their communities get stellar ratings, but then you have Devonshire where we really had a very poor experience. Ultimately, I would say if you're considering any home builder, do that research. Don't just look up the Google reviews, but actually read them. And I would also say to extend that level of research into who you decide to use as a realtor. At the end of the day, you can do an enormous amount of research and planning and end up with a community where an exceptional project manager just got relocated and now maybe they're understaffed. So no matter how much research you've done, you still need an excellent realtor in your corner ready to advocate for you. And hopefully it goes without saying here that that's exactly what we do. And if you'd like to get acquainted, we have a Let's Find Home questionnaire in the description section that'll get the whole process started. As much as I've given William Ryan Homes a fair shake here, I still would not call them my top builder by any means. I did an entire video where I ranked 9 different builders, including William Ryan Homes. So if you're in that price range, you might find that video helpful and you can watch it right here. In the meantime, Wendy out.